And yeah, we're just gonna be, you know, starting away with the stream with, you know, one of the topics that I have been meaning to for like the longest of times, and why not a better chance than to do it, you know, today before the evening like cusp of said TV series, right? And you can guess from like the, you know, the fucking layout, it's like a Kotoku time, so we gotta do this, right? Where is it? There you go. Yeah, it's Toku time. It's Tokusatsu time, and we're not gonna be talking directly about like Super Sentai. Rather, it's, you know, American adaptation, which is, you know, Power Rangers, right? I've been meaning to like make a topic discussion video about this for the longest of time, because the next season for Power Rangers, right, Cosmic Fury, the sequel to Dino Fury, has been heavily promoted, you know, on like my feed, on my YouTube feed, and on my Twitter feed, right? There's going to be like, you know, an actual like season 1 of the series, right? And I've been like, the Khaiza has been covering this topic for, you know, quite some time, right? With, you know, small like reaction videos and like you know, small little like discussions, preludes before like main topics of the Khaiza streams, but never actually like, you know, made videos about it, right? Didn't get the chance to, just either like forgot or, you know, wasn't like important. But now is like a good time to talk about like this subject, because Cosmic Fury will be like coming in the next like few days, and you know, I have some pros and cons about this, right? And it's generally speaking about, you know, the originality of Cosmic Fury, right? And Cosmic Fury has been heavily promoted that it's going to be this original new series that doesn't take any like Super Sentai motifs, right? Even though, right, we see in some trailers for Cosmic Fury that there's going to be, you know, Zord shots that are very like familiar from a past Super Sentai season, but the suits are going to be all new. The story is going to be original, as obviously, because it's Power Rangers, right? Power Rangers, you know, in a historical sense, is an American adaptation again, right? But it's not going to be a direct one-to-one adaptation of Super Sentai. It's going to have its own beats, it's going to have its own story, its own lore, right? That makes it separate and unique from Super Sentai, right? Original villains, right? We have seen this like before. Lord Zed, Divatox, you know, Andromeda, so many original characters, not just Power Rangers, but also villains, and also, you know, the writing of Power Rangers. It's heavily different than from what the Super Sentai versions are, right? So it's trying to like promote its original sense, right? And yes, right, to, you know, if you want to like end like the conversation or end like the topic conversation there, Power Rangers is, you know, original, right? There's as long as it's, you know, the story is the same, as long as the conceptual writing of Power Rangers is the same, is different from Super Sentai, then yes, you can call it like an original piece, right? Because it is Power Rangers, it grew up as its own entity over the years, right? And there's been some things that I have like questions with the centerpiece of originality, because Power Rangers is now owned by Hasbro, so the rights are not, the rights are not from like a different person, not from Neo Saban. Neo Saban relinquished, or no, Hasbro bought the Power Rangers license, and so they are going to make like their own version of Power Rangers. And this has been like heavily like teased back even before like Dino Fury like came out, if I remember correctly, right? And so it was going to be heavily promoted that they won't be using any more Sentai material. They're going to be making their own like original suits and ideas, which is, at the time the Khaiza was a little bit worried because, Power Rangers, if more than anything, is uses Sentai footage, create their own story, but use like the footage to incorporate the scenes. So you can definitely see like the age and how it's like shown when Power Rangers uses old Super Sentai footage. Like some shots feel more grainy than the others because Super Sentai is older as hell. It's old as hell, right? Power Rangers came in like fucking 1994 or something, I think, like in the 90s, right? It definitely like blew up. Of course, like it definitely blew up. Anybody who grew up in like in the 90s and who saw Power Rangers was like, yo, this is some like hot shit, right? Superheroes in spandex, right? Fighting bad guys, an evil like bitch witch with tits, and cockpiling, Megazords. It's the dopest of shits, right? I was especially one of them, right? Like my fucking grainiest of memories of Power Rangers was in tandem with like the TV series, right? Of course, I grew up in like I was born in like 94, so I'm like I wasn't a young adult, I was a wee babe. But in the 2000s, I had like VHS collections of Power Rangers courtesy of my dad, and I would watch those movies ad nauseam. And I remember seeing like the Power Rangers Mighty Morphin movie with Ivan Ooze. And the moment I saw these motherfuckers, transforming in henshin, I was lying down in my bed with my parents next to me. I got up just like out of, just instinct, and I posed, and I looked at the right of me, and then I saw my mom and dad looking at me, and I'm like, man, our son's a weirdo. So I was definitely like a Power Rangers kid, right? I thought this was like totally new. I never knew of this other like version of Super Sentai until like my fallout of Power Rangers, right? Back in the Neo Saban era, right? After Ninja Steel, right? After Ninja Steel, I was like, or after the first season of Ninja Steel, because after that first season, I was like, yo, man, I'm kind of done with Power Rangers. It doesn't hit the same as like, Time Force or some of like the Disney XD era of Power Rangers, right? Those were some like goated shits of, Power Rangers history. And that's when I started getting into Sentai, right? When I started watching Super Sentai, when I started watching Kamen Rider, I definitely became like a Kamen Rider Super Sentai fan, right? Because the show material and the writing I felt was a lot more better than at that time nowadays Power Rangers. Watching Super Sentai is like, watching old school Power Rangers for me before the Neo Saban era, where Neo Saban was just trying to, just reinsert the old vibes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the cheesy dialogue, the music, right? Certainly you can like do that, but it's a different time. Right? Mighty Morphin Power Rangers worked so well because of the time that it came out, and in the 90s was all about, the action music, the fucking, the dialogue was so corny and cheesy, and it just fitted in that era, right? Alongside other classics like Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, so many other things that had like, you know, ad nauseam music to encompass like the actiony, you know, moments, right? When you're a kid, you think of like music. When you're a kid, you want to watch, you know, fantastical action moments that don't have, you know, like silence, in my honest opinion. That's like, that's like my opposite, right? Where I'm like, man, I don't like a lot of music in some of these like old shows, right? Like Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. Like I like, you know, I like the moments that are like, you know, muted, right? Like that give a lot more emphasis to the action vibes about the shows that I'm watching, right? And that's where like I drew in with, you know, Super Sentai, is that it's not afraid to be like silent most of the time. It's not afraid to, you know, tell like dark themes, right? It's just, it's like, you know, its own thing. And that's why like I like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, because even though like the marketing for those shows are catered to like young adults and like kids, it's definitely, you know, has some like dark themes, some religious themes that, you know, America wouldn't dare to put in their children shows, right? They wouldn't have, you know, Satan be in a Power Rangers thing. They would have like an alien, right? An alien from space, or, you know, alien ninjas, evil like dinosaurs, criminals, like underwater pirates, right? But they're not gonna have, you know, things that are like, you know, from the religious like scope, or like have, you know, Power Rangers, you know, have their heads chopped off or see like blood on the screen. No, not at all, right? That's in like in the Neo Saban era. In the, I think like Disney XD era, or even like, you know, the Fox era, right? They were not afraid to like, you know, show blood on the screen and just rocked with it. Power Rangers, now I'm just like now a skeptical fan because I don't like the writing. I recently watched, you know, Dino Fury, and Dino Fury is like, it's all right, but I just can't stand like the dialogue, you know, even though like it has less music in like some of like the talk, in like most of like half of like the talking points that make up Power Rangers, but in a way it still is like, man, I don't like listening to like, you know, modern day Power Rangers anymore, right? It's just so like bad to listen to. It's just like everything that the actors like said came out of like, you know, a generic like AI 90s bot generator, a script generator, and they had to like say these lines. There's no like, you know, organics, right? There's no like improv acting for these like actors. I mean, they're good. I mean, they're good actors, but the way it like comes off, the way it's like said, it's like, this feels totally different. This feels totally like weird and to like a strong point, cringy, right? It feels so cringy to listen to these characters talking like, you know, 90s, even though they're in the 2020s, right? It's a whole totally new era, so things are like, you know, hella different. Things are like, you know, hella different. Flip phones are now turned into smartphones and shit like that. New norms and new cultures have been established. So Dino Fury, right, was good. I only watched like, you know, some of the important like plot points. I just mainly like skimmed through the sons of bitches. I don't care about any real world problems. Like every like episode just felt like, you know, I gotta tell like a poignant message, but it felt really like forced sort of thing. I didn't like the dialogue that Power Rangers, modern day Power Rangers have. I don't like it. So I just like tune into like Super Sentai or Kamen Rider because, you know, they have, even though like Japanese like writing have their own versions of like cringe, right? We all grew up in like anime and like still watch anime now to this day. It's its own level of cringe, but it's acceptable, you know, right? And well, back to like, you know, the original aspect, because, you know, Hasbro acquired the Power Rangers like license, and they are really advocating, you know, the striving of, you know, the advocacy of Power Rangers. But from what the show material wants, and Hasbro is like, you know, a toy company more than anything, kind of like, you know, Bandai is for, you know, their deluxe figures, right, for Super Sentai Power Rangers. And they focus more on like, you know, the Lightning collection figurines for Power Rangers, but not enough for like, you know, the actual show material of Power Rangers, right? So it definitely throws off, you know, fans through like a loop. Like, you get like the toys, sure, right? They look good to mount on like the walls and like shit, but like the material for these like shows are not really that great, right? I have not seen Beast Morphers. I've heard it was pretty good, but it's just like my skeptical ass that, man, I can't trust Power Rangers writing, even though like even though it's heading towards, you know, the progressiveness of, you know, modern day cultures, right? And that's a good thing, right? Power Rangers got recently a award for being the best LGBTQ plus representation of a kids show ever, right? To have like, you know, I'll say it again, LGBTQ plus gay lesbian representation. So that's really awesome, right? It's not like the old school stereotypes that we come to know and love for Power Rangers, but now it's like the dynamic is like changing and shifting, so that's like a good thing, right? But yeah, just like Hasbro just making or advocating original doesn't really spark anything for me, because, you know, how much is original when, you know, conceptually Power Rangers is an adaptation of Super Sentai that uses Sentai footage, not a whole lot of Sentai footage, just like select parts, and then make like a story out of, you know, the Super Sentai counterpart, right? And again, for the third time, I've said this, yes, Power Rangers is original, but then there are some like tangents to that, you know, originality, right? And this is where like we'll segue into is, so the Khaiza recently saw this like tweet blow up on my Twitter feed, since I'm like a Power Rangers head. And this was done by a Twitter person called Nick News, and he was nice enough, because I like recently retweeted this, reposted this, right? And this guy was super nice enough to like, you know, actually reply to me. And so this kind of like sparked like, you know, the other objective of like this video is that the saying right here, right? Super Sentai is limiting for Power Rangers, right? I kind of took the word of, you know, the limiting aspect, right? Like Super Sentai limits Power Rangers, right? And of course, I asked this like to the person, right? I reposted this, and I actually got like some very thoughtful like messages, but, you know, in a very clean manner. I wasn't, you know, the basic Twitter bitch that just like attacks people for looking at like one word and just like, how dare he say so and so thing, I'm gonna attack him like verbally, you know, like cuck his family or sort of shit. Like, I don't do that, bro, right? If people like piss me off, like, then I'll retaliate back with force, right? I had that one instance before and I got super triggered. But this is essentially like what I wanted to like, you know, make a discussion for in this video is that is Super Sentai limiting? And this is like what Nick News, Nick Yasyansho, said while doing like an interview talk with Catherine, right? The second Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, Pink Ranger, the Zeo Ranger, and the Turbo Ranger, right? Before, you know, fuck, who was the other? I forgot the Asian lady that took over Catherine, right? I forgot her name in like Turbo and in Space. I totally forgot her. But this is like what I wanted to like, you know, hear and let y'all like listen to.
Always and Cosmic Fury are two productions with creative freedom. Do you think Power Ranger has needed to distance itself from Super Sentai for a while to forge its own path?
Yeah, I'm actually really happy they did that with Cosmic Fury and created their own costumes, and because it's limiting when you're taking footage from another. It's limiting you to just only having that footage that you can use and kind of trying to tailor a story around that, which is what they've done all these years. So I'm really happy that they chose to do that, and I really hope it does well. I'm really excited to see it.
So yeah, that was the talk that they had, and there's like a full video on this. Like, go check this person out. I mean, I took like a few minutes to like listen to him, and he's a genuine fan of like Power Rangers, right? You know, go like subscribe to his channel. I should probably do so as well, but you know, this is kind of like the topic of discussion I wanted to, you know, discuss, right? You know, Super Sentai is limiting Power Rangers, and the other tangent is that is this new Cosmic Fury original enough to be called original? Because when I think of original, right, when the Khaiza thinks of original, you think of like ways that is unique, right? Totally like differentiate yourself, right? Diverge yourself from the what was it? The adaptation that you are like doing. In this case, right, Power Rangers, right? Power Rangers is, you know, Power Rangers, of course, again, is a Super Sentai like American adaptation of Super Sentai, right? So as Catherine just said, it's using Sentai footage to make its like own story. But then, right, with Cosmic Fury, it's utilizing, right, Sentai footage in the sense of Zords, right? You see, right, Q Ranger, right? Q Ranger is the 9 squad Power Rangers group in Japan and has Zords that are based around like constellations, and the gimmick was like, you know, cubes or like spheres, right? So I don't really get like how is that like original, because, you know, you're trying to like distance yourself from the material, from the source material. Well, not distance, sorry, distancing is like a wrong word. You're trying to like, you know, differentiate. You're trying to be your own unique self from Super Sentai, but having, you know, an original story and original characters, original suits that, you know, of course, may be similar to, you know, some personality traits from the Super Sentai Power Rangers, but it just still feels like it's not original, right? Like, I don't see any originality from Power Rangers since you are using the since you've been using the suits for like 30 something years, right? Had no qualms about it. You used the Zord shots, you used Zords from the Super Sentai counterparts, and you have been pretty successful for the most part. You have been a huge like industry, right? And now you want to make like quote unquote new suits, right? I know Tenara-kun like said this, right? Last time he was here, but the suits kind of look, you know, bulky. It looks like very fat, right? It doesn't look like a Power Ranger suit. It just feels like, you know, they got like these like, you know, weird pecs on and like in the biceps, right? I see like no like opinion about it, right? It looks cool. I know they like redid the helmet designs from Dino Fury, and they call it and they slap it on as like quote unquote new, right? So in a way, yeah, like it does carry some Super Sentai elements. It does, you know, have some Super Sentai elements because that's the thing that they have to like strive for, right? But you're still, let me rephrase that. So yeah, like it's original, but you're still using Super Sentai like elements in your Power Rangers pieces. So how is it So in my mind, how is it original when you're still using the Super Sentai adaptations for, you know, of course you'll have your own fight scenes, but you'll have the same villains from the Super Sentai counterpart. We saw some shots of like, you know, Q Ranger villains, right? Ikagen, the Don Armage army, right? We saw like the Zords being used, right? The Kyuren-O, the Sphere mechas, right? So you have all of these like Super Sentai footages, yet you still want to be like original. Like you have Lord Zed coming back, right? For the upteen's time, because Lord Zed is a popular villain. They can't use, I don't know if they ever use like Rita Repulsa ever again. Oh yeah, right, with Robo Rita Repulsa in the 30th anniversary special. But I don't think like in mainline series, I'll have to like double check. But yeah, it's just like, it sort of feels like, you know, between a rock and a hard place. Like it doesn't feel like it's what was it? A pure like Power Rangers, right? And pure Power Rangers, right? If I were to like coin this correctly, you know, is still like Power Rangers from the 1990s, right? That is like just super hokey, cheesy fun, right? That borrows like Super Sentai elements, right? You borrow like the suits, you borrow the villains, the swords, but the uniqueness is, you know, the story. The uniqueness is the story and like the pacing of, you know, the show, right? The little like you know, lessons of the week alongside, you know, the monsters of the week. So it's like hard because yes, in a way it's original, but at the same time it's not, right? Like I don't really see it as original. And of course I'll be like giving it a watch because I'm a casual Power Rangers fan. I mean, I'll try to stomach through Power Rangers, and Power Rangers, I don't know if it will do well successfully outside of like, you know, the fans, right? Because, you know, there's a lot of like Netflix stuff that will be like coming out because Power Rangers is now like a Netflix thing, right? And it's going to be, you know, debuting alongside right? What else? What movies are there, right? They have like old school movies, new school movies. Oh, there's going to have what was it? Animes like, oh yeah, Kengan Ashura came out on like Netflix, right? The hit like Konami IP show Castlevania Nocturne will be coming like I think tomorrow or like Thursday. Definitely like looking forward to that. And then there's Power Rangers. So you got these like triple threats like going on right now, and I don't think Power Rangers is probably going to succeed outside of like fans, right? And of course, like this new season is going to be, you know, revolutionary because it's going to have a female Red Ranger, right? Which we never had in the history of Power Rangers outside of, you know, the one time in SPD. Outside of SPD, where it was just like, you know, a one villain, but I think outside of like one villain, but I think this is still like how I quoted like the Tekken 8, you know, replay system revolutionary, because, you know, we never had one. We never had a female like lead before, right? And like I said, with like Power Rangers, you know, jumping on the, you know, modern like culture train, right? In a good way, of course, right? Power Ranger, I would happily see like a female lead like Power Rangers, and of course, you know, Super Sentai also had its like, you know, female leads, right? What was it? Kaku Ranger, right? The female, it's not the Red Ranger who's like the leader of the squad. It's actually the White Ranger, and it's a girl. So you can definitely have like a female lead. But it's like, oh, and of course there's a Time Force, right? Or Time Ranger, right? The Pink Ranger is the leader of the squad, right? Similar to like, you know, Time Force, but most of the show, you know, points towards, you know, Wes and his like, you know, fight your destiny, right? So the camera points towards him, and for Jen, the camera focuses on like, you know, her love life and trying to like get it on with Wes, right? Sort of thing, you know? So we had like so we have like, you know, female like empowerment before, and I can't wait like, you know, for this one. We had like female leads before, and it's also, and not only that, this Power Ranger season is going to have like its, you know, canonical Orange Ranger, which, you know, of course, right? It's a first for Power Rangers. Excuse me, but we have seen Orange Rangers before in fucking Super Sentai. Tokyuger is one of them. What was it? Of course, Q Ranger, the adaptation that Cosmic Fury is adapting from, right? So we had our share of like Orange Rangers like in the past, right? And even like SPD had like a joke Orange Ranger in with Boom. So we had our first instance there. It is revolutionary that it's going to be a main team and not like a joke character, but still, right? It's all of these like, you know, I'm gonna quote this, right? Accessibility flavors of Power Rangers is really good, right? However, you know, I don't think, you know, that that's gonna help out the claim of like, you know, the originality of Cosmic Fury, because even then it's still Power Rangers, right? It's still using Super Sentai footage, right? So at one point it's original, but at the same time it's not, because, you know, historically that's Power Rangers. They create their own story from Super Sentai footage, but at the same, so it works. But at the same time, right, you know, Super Sentai has been a lot more freer, like, you know, on the opposite spectrum, right? Because now that Power Rangers will be like doing its own thing, right? We have seen plenty of shows in Super Sentai history, like Dawn Brothers, Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger, Kira Major, right? Zenkaiger, and now with like King Oger. And there have been some Super Sentai seasons that Power Rangers have skipped over, like Tokyuger. Tokyuger is one of them. Ninja, Zyuroger, right? They skipped over a lot of like these seasons, right? So in a way, right, it helps Super Sentai to not be like, you know, chained down, right, and give like consent to use this Power Ranger season, which, you know, we've always like speculated when older seasons were like coming out, is that, oh man, these cool Power Ranger seasons are dope as hell, but these cool Power Ranger seasons are dope as hell, but what? Wait, why am I saying but? All right, let me stop over that, right? Or like let me cross out that phrasing, right? So in a way, Super Sentai has been a lot more freer, and they could explore more of their own themes than they could with Power Rangers, right? If Power Rangers were to adopt, like, you know, Dawn Brothers, I don't know how the hell they're gonna like do that, brother. I don't know how they're going to be doing that, right? That's gonna be like, you know, some fucking miracle hurdle over here, the leap of faith. That's some leap of faith shit right there, right? Like, how are you gonna adapt that season with its weird and wacky and like sort of mixed messaging and its loose like threads? You know, so it's gonna be hella weird if they were to do that. If they were to do that, oh my god, bro. So yeah, like there are like, you know, the two sides of every story. It's like, you know, the ultimate end of like this discussion, you know, at least like for, you know, the targeted fans or the target audience, is that, you know, the Khaiza is not dissing Power Rangers or Super Sentai, right? Like, you know, both of them are charming, both of them are cool, right? I don't watch a lot of Power Rangers now because of like, you know, the writing. I became more of a Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Ultraman guy, but I do like Power Rangers, and this is me saying, I've always said this in these streams and videos as like a fan of the series from like, you know, inception to now, even though like I was born in 94 and I watched a lot of these Power Ranger shits in the 2000s when I was a kid. I just want Power Rangers to like, you know, be good, right? Bring back some of like the charm and like some of like, you know, the character dynamics and the dark themes that they have explored in Disney XD era, in Fox era, which was, you know, they're really like charming, which was really like their charming moments. And that's like one of my favorite seasons. A lot of my favorite seasons from Power Rangers are from those eras, right? So I'm just like, yeah, I don't hate on them. I just wish that they were better, sort of thing. That's it. That's all. And of course, I'll be casually watching Cosmic Fury, right? I won't like the music because it's pretty much like a similar vibe to like old school 90s anime and TV shows where they had like music all over the place, and it doesn't give a lot of like dialogue, but I'll still casually watch it. I'll still think it's like a fun time, but if you want, but I'll like, okay, I'm fumbling again. Oh, that's it? Oh, that's right. But I will say this though, is that you are allowed to like have free reign for your projects and the things that, you know, do, but don't call yourself original when you are clearly not from historical consumption, right? Power Rangers is Power Rangers because of the Super Sentai influence. That powered Power Rangers, no pun intended. So it was really good. It was, sorry. So it's really good, you know, for what it is. And I'll lastly like say this though, right, to like bring the argument to a close, because I gotta do like prayers real soon, right? If you want to be a Power Rangers, and I'm speaking to all like the Hasbro nuts and like to Hasbro or like Power Rangers modern day fans, if you really want to strive to be original, an original Power Rangers like work, adapt the Boom comic books, right? Like that's the one original piece that I could think of in the Khaiza's brain that you could totally make like an animated adaptation, or like I don't know how live action is gonna work because Jason David Frank passed away, rest his soul, rest in peace. But you could totally make like your own original piece with like the Boom comics, right? With the Boom comic storyline, there's like the Shattered Grid, the Lord Draken story, even like the TMNT crossovers that Power Rangers have, right? They 100% have their original story, but they have unique Rangers like the Omega Rangers, Mutant Rangers, the TMNT Rangers. They even have like their own Zords, for God's sakes, like the Grave Swords, which is like damaged up pieces of the Thunder Megazord that were destroyed at the end of Power Rangers Season 2 before Season 3 with the Ninja Swords. So you can definitely 100% be original by adapting the Boom comics, Hasbro. Like you could, the clear answer for if you want to be original is like sitting there like right in front of your face, sort of thing, Like that's like one clear like example, one clear like counter if you want to make yourselves original, but don't say like original for the sake of like I'm adapting Super Sentai footage, No, don't do that, right? Don't do that. Otherwise, you'll just get like mixed views, mixed messaging, right? I mean, of course, if a person hasn't seen Super Sentai, then of course this would be like revolutionary, right? Then that person could be said like, oh, that's original. But no, it's not, right? But yeah, Power Rangers is like a weird thing, and it's in a weird place right now, right? Sometimes it could be like very good. The 30th anniversary was a really good like tribute to Power Rangers, noting on like the dark themes, but also keeping it very Power Rangers nostalgic with the old school 1990s version, like the Once and Always special. But yeah, Power Rangers like can be very like cringy at times, and I just want like Power Rangers like to be good. Get at least like better writers that like, of course it's a kids show, right? But I show like Super Sentai or Kamen Rider some of like dark episodes or dark themes, right? Right, that I show off to like my cousins Safa and Marwa in Bangladesh, right? I got them into Super Sentai Kamen Rider because of like my interests, right? And they love the seasons that I give them, right? They have an enjoyable time watching those Super Sentai shows. But I could imagine, and they're smart as hell, right? They're able to like pick up like a good story and like catch certain things that they wouldn't be able to find if they were born and raised like in America, right? Like American kids are kind of like, or well, it's just like how you grew up or like how you've been like fed, right? Like kids are like smart as hell, and if you like teach them right, they could be smart at a very early young age. They're able to like pick up stuff faster than like us adults ever will, right? And of course, like teach them wrong, they'll definitely like pick up that because they're like sponges at the end of the day, so they'll like absorb whatever is on like from their parents' perspective, from modern media, you know, like it's all about like good parenting and, you know, giving them like good choices, right? Can't just like force feed them like Coco Melon and let that be that, right? You gotta show them like, you know, what's a good material, right? I'm no parent. I'm more of an uncle per se, right? So I don't have, so I'm outside like my boundaries. But, you know, if I were to like have a kid and like show them Power Rangers, I would show them some of like the classics, right? Like the classic Power Rangers and what made Power Rangers good. I wouldn't necessarily show them like new Power Rangers. I would show them like a little, but like I would detail like tell them, you know, what's like the pros and cons between like old school versus new school, right? But yeah, man, like Power Rangers is one of like my favorite like genres next to like, you know, fighting games and like action games. I just want like Power Rangers, you know, to be good, like be like charming and, you know, have like, you know, impactful like narration and story. And for the most part, like they don't, like it sort of feels dry, like they don't have that. That's like kind of like the disappointing part, is that it sort of feels like soulless. And to me, right, in terms of like the writing, the plot is like, I mean, I forget like the plot, but oh no, yeah, like plot is like, you know, very good. Like recently watched Dino Fury, like it's good, right? But still, like I'm an old school Power Rangers fan. I'm like an old like millennial geezer. I have like rose tinted glasses, and Power Rangers was good because of like the impactful story and tones that they explored in the Fox era, in the Disney XD, in the Disney Jetix era, right? Like those shits were fucking hype. Those shits were fucking cool to like listen to and absorb. But now it's just like, ah, man, I don't fucking care anymore, dude. Like, man, this shit just feels like soulless, you know? So, like, to bring it to a close, right? It is original. It is, you know, in a sense, right? It still uses Super Sentai footage, but, you know, right? Don't be on, like, you know, a social pariah for, like, any of this, Power Ranger stuff. We all love Power Rangers. Some are more, you know, loudly obnoxious for their, you know, likes or dislikes. I'm just a guy who likes Power Rangers and again wants to have Power Rangers get like a good like limelight, you know, not be like, you know, get that fucking, what was it, that stick that gets them out of here, right? Like, I want them to have like good writing, make them charming, make the seasons unique, right? Don't try to like reiterate, you know, Mighty Morphin anymore, right? Because we tried Mighty Morphin in the Neo Saban era. Look what happened. It failed miserably, right? You're trying to re-emulate, yeah. You try, no, not re-emulate, sorry. Emulate the Mighty Morphin experience to 2010s era, and it did not hit well, right? And Hasbro Power Rangers is still trying to like do that, right? Say like a Power Ranger season without it having to be riding on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers dick all the time, right? To put it bluntly or simply, you know? Yes, it is the one that started it all. Yes, it is like popular, but it was popular at the time it came out. Can it be recreated? You can, but again, look what happened, right? Try to tell you like your own theme, your own story. You can have anniversary stuff when it comes, right? We had like Wild Force with the Forever Red. We had fucking Legacy of Power, Dino Thunder, right? We had Tommy Oliver, right? We had Jason David Frank. So tell like a story that doesn't ride on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers a lot, You know? That's where you'll succeed with Power Rangers. If you still keep doing that, just like, be more soulless, why don't you, Power Rangers? Just stray from the past. Just stray from the way, why don't you? But yeah, I'll be looking out for Cosmic Fury. I'll like try to bottle down my emotions, right? To like an objective point of view, but still be like subjective. They like, but still, like I'll take a look at Cosmic Fury, right? So yeah, that's my like take on like Power Rangers, originality, Super Sentai. You know, I have to get like credit to where credit is due. Like, you know, I'll say like thank you to like, you know, Nick News, right, for, you know, being a Power Rangers fan, and of course, you know, was nice enough to reply to, you know, my Twitter messages. I'll give him that. But yeah, Power Rangers is something special, and I just want it to be good. That's all.